In the developments of the public hearing into the near collapse of the capital market that entered day 2 yesterday, where more people came to make presentations, particularly brokers, and they were asked by members of the committee what went wrong, why is the market still in the state that it's in. But joining me now is Abel Ezekiel. He's a capital market analyst and chief executive officer of Investment Derivatives Company. Thank you, Abel, for being here.
Thank you, Esther.
Well, it entered day 2 and from day 1, it was made very clear by the members that we're not going to have a very dramatic sessions like we had from the previous probe. It wasn't going to be adversarial. People were just going to come, give out their thoughts, what happened in a very civil manner, no drama of any kind. But we did see some maybe I shouldn't use the word outburst, some very outspoken persons speaking yesterday about some of the issues. Okay, let me just ask you, what are your thoughts this day 2 so far since the beginning of this probe?
Like you rightly pointed out, the issue, what is at stake is not personality clash or a personal issue that we're talking about here. These are issues that are very, very fundamental, that affect the life of a lot of Nigerians, especially those who really patronize the capital market. For the very first time, what we experienced since about 4 years now, to the best of my knowledge, it has never happened in the history of capital market. So it really called for sincere and pragmatic view so that people will really know what went wrong and then provide solutions to avert it in the future. So far, what have been going on is people have been presenting views that I think is very, very fundamental, very, very genuine. I think is an improvement compared to what we had before. So I think people have been coming, people who really have issues or who have one point or the other to present, they have been coming and they have been presenting them in a very frank and cordial environment, which I think is commendable.
Now, I know you're one of those who are not particularly comfortable about the fact that the hearing has been made public. We all know about the sensitive nature of the capital market. Have you changed your stance on that? The fact that still this new probe is also being made public.
Yes, I've been issued. The point the step has already been taken. If they now adopt a system of looking at it, maybe not doing it outside the public view, it will be perceived that maybe something fishy is going on or something they want to suppress some fact. So therefore, since they have chose from the onset to adopt open hearing, I don't think
you think they should just continue.
They should continue with this. Let us really see, because I think a lot of Nigerians really want to know what went wrong. Though people know what went wrong, but let us bring them to the fore, so that at the end of the day, it will serve as a lesson. It will serve as a point or a reference point, so that in future, because if you forget your past, you won't be able to remember or you'll be able to catch a better course for your future. So I think this past that have gone is gone anyway, but I think it is good for us to use it as a kind of a learning curve for our future, so that we don't fall into what has happened before.
Okay, exactly. Hold your thoughts for us. Let's quickly take a 2-minute report that captured some of the events of that public hearing yesterday.
Mention of the Investment Protection Fund, Section 197.
Protecting investors and ensuring investors' confidence in the market dominated today's hearing. The Chartered Institute of Stockbrokers faulted the intervention mechanism of the apex regulator.
SEC is a supervisor, a regulator of the exchange. It should not micromanage the exchange. As things stand now, it is micromanaging the exchange because it has 8 members on the council of an exchange that is supposed to be supervising. So if those 8 members from SEC are in the council and they take decision that the management must implement, who is running the exchange? That's the issue.
How to protect investors, especially those who have shares in the nationalized banks, was also brought to the fore.
Now, what those banks did is what I'm trying to propose. The banks gave shares to in ratios to their own shareholders. Instead of saying, this bank have been liquidated, therefore you have no shares, it's okay now. You had 28, for instance, in Intercontinental, now you are going to get 1 from Access Bank. You had 16 in Union Bank, now you are going to get 3. You had in Oceanic Bank 20, you are going to get 1. So we are saying if that is right, if the same banks and the new and the old banks that were liquidated had the same situation, then, and the core investors were magnanimous enough to give the existing shareholders some shares, why shouldn't the federal government or the CBN, the current owners of the nationalized banks, do the same for the existing shareholders?
We're talking of nationalized bank. If this issue have not been addressed once and for all by this honorable committee, by this August committee, Mr. Chairman, the confidence in the market will never come back. We are praying that after this hearing, it is our prayer, our demand. We are not begging. It's our right. That the issue of nationalization should be revisited and reversed back to shareholders. Because illegality cannot be legality. It must be reversed back. CBN must be made to understand through the executive that the decision they took was not for the interest of Nigerians. You give a time frame, you didn't allow that date to come. You went below and nationalized.
Mr. Okezie, who also in his presentation questioned the appointment of Ms. Aruma Ote as the SEC DG, was asked to support his arguments with facts.
Okay. 173 rule of ISA, section B and C, spelled out that, for you to be appointed of DG of SEC, not her, even in future, we want to make some appointment. We must adhere to that rule. You must have experience.
Let me read the law so that I can guide you appropriately. And it says, capital market operator means any person, individual or corporate, duly registered by the Commission to perform specific functions in the capital market. So why do you not think that her appointment did not comply with the provisions of this law?
Government made the appointment. Okay, not the Commission. Government did the appointment. The government have not followed the laid down procedure. Government violated it. Because if you put the law that
can you read paragraph 8 of your presentation? Paragraph 8. Just read it out.
The having said all this, in future, care must be taken and due process observed when regulatory bodies are employing their CEO. The rules establishing this institution regarding the appropriate content experience must be appropriately adhered to. That is it. Example, that Ms. Ote is not a qualified stockbroker and she does not have 15 years working experience in the capital market as the law claims.
In all of these, the stockbrokers assured the investors that all is well.
We use this opportunity to let investors know that both the SEC and all the operators in the market, we are working together. We have established committees that cover virtually all the areas that we believe that should help the market move forward.
Hearing continues on Thursday. Chimezie Obi-Wagu for Channels Television News.
Let me just...
Well, those were some of the events yesterday at the second day of the public hearing into the near collapse of the capital market. Well, Abel is still here. Is going to react to some of the presentations made by some of the participants there. Now, some of the issues brought up was, of course, the intervention or the role of the capital market regulator, the Securities and Exchange Commission. One of the participants there did say that well, they're not comfortable about the fact that, according to them, the SEC seems to be micromanaging the market, as it were. What are your thoughts on that? I understand that they have 8 members on the board of the NSE, but is there a law that's against that?
Really, it's not as if there's a standard law or a kind of it's not in the ISA, that is to say, barring SEC from actually overseeing. But sometimes when they take things beyond the limit, it becomes a problem. There are, apart from stock exchange, SEC has other roles. There are registrars, there are issuing houses, there are trustees that fall under the purview of organizations that SEC have to oversee their affairs. How come is primarily for the past 2 years focusing attention on Nigerian Stock Exchange? So
perhaps that's why, because we do know that many of the headwinds, where the whole, in terms of capital market growth and the general environment, where we've been seeing the downturn, it's not been at the bond market, it's not been at the treasuries market, it's been at the equities market. That's where the headwinds or the challenges, as we have been coming out from.
You should know that before a stock can come to stock exchange, there are a lot of process involving stock exchange and SEC, as it were. SEC will register. before it will now becomes a public offer and issue the shares to the public and list them on the floor of stock exchange. Therefore, if you now leave all those other areas and focus on stock exchange, I can tell you there are many fundamental problems confronting the capital market even beyond the stock exchange. There are a lot of challenges investors are going through. Number, I will tell you, the issue of unclaimed dividend that is prevalent. As of now, they are estimated to be close to 40 billion naira. What is SEC doing about it? We don't know. Before, they wanted to pass an act for SEC to manage it. Up to today, nobody is hearing of it. And what is responsible for that? Do you know that registrars, most of these registrars, they ask people, somebody have a dividend one of 2,000 naira. You now go to your bank. A bank will collect 2,005. Some bank will collect 5,000 just to give you a banker's confirmation of signature, just ordinary paper, for you to be able to use to regularize your dividend warrant. All these are issues. At the end of the day, how will you spend 5,000 naira to regularize a dividend of 1,000? What I'm pointing out is really that there are some other underlying issues embedded in this issue. I mean, a problem we're talking about. So not really for SEC to nominate almost 8 members on the board of SEC. Definitely, the influence of SEC on the Nigerian stock is so much overbearing, to the extent that instead of it to be a kind of give them a positive result, is really impacting negatively.
Are you also, because in the last couple of months we have been constantly in the media, we have been reporting that in terms of market transparency, creating a fair environment, minimal market infractions, that the SEC has actually done a lot in that area. Yeah. But you don't agree with that?
Yes,
because that's actually ultimately their mandate.
So far, when you compare, because we all agree that in the past, when it comes to area of regulation, it has really been not the extent, the tempo has not been as high as we have now. Let us agree. But there are some other areas where they are over, which is this area we are addressing and which was duly addressed by the president of Charter of Stockbrokers. Therefore, if you concentrated your energy on that area, you leave other areas, other systems, other departments, or other sector that you need to manage.
Okay, so basically you're saying the SEC should create a balance.
Exactly. It should not be over-concentrated on NSE. There are other sectors or other areas within the capital market that they need to really do something about. So that is really the challenge. And again, if you look at it generally, over the years, when these prices were going up, which was really the critical problem that personally I know, I had been mentioning it even to some of my colleagues. You see a company that doesn't have an address. If you permit me, I can mention it.
I know what you're talking about, and I know where you're going. But what I'm saying is that these were things, market infractions that happened, in the past, when the crisis began, and a lot of that has been cleaned up. We know that for a fact. We have the facts, and that has always been in the media. Yeah. So there's been a cleanup.
There is.
So would it be good or fair for us to begin to refer to back to that time? Especially since there's been already been a cleanup of that, and that has been brought to a minimum.
Anyway, the market itself really clean it as well. It's not as if maybe it is, because the market has a way of reacting. If a company, you can't add money, because as at that time when people were busy buying even stock that doesn't have good fundamental, as of now, it is only based on you must be able to present a good report to the public, to investors, before they will so market itself has really taken care of that as well, because there's no sane investor that will go and put his money in a company that have nothing to offer the investor, because definitely what are you investing for if you are not expecting, if the report or what you are expecting is not going to be in agreement with your investment expectation. So basically market itself has really taken care of that, as it were, because there are stocks today you present or you offer on the floor that if you don't have anybody to buy it, why should you not go and start? If you want to sell, there's nobody buying it. Why would you not buy?
We now have the market makers who make that process easier. If you want to buy, you want to sell a stock, you want to buy stock. If there isn't a ready investor on the other end of the line to buy it, you have a market maker who would take that stock from you or buy it from you and then hold on to it.
We have, but they are not yet in operational.
You're saying the market makers are not fully operational?
They are not fully operational. And then there are a lot of, because if you look at the analysis very well, there are a lot of issues that needed to be addressed. You remember that the modalities for market makers, here you are, they will pick 20 portfolios, randomly selected from the list, and at the end of the day, they will must have enough money.
Well, they all met, all 10 of them that were picked had met the minimum capital requirement. So I want to believe that since they have the minimum requirement, they should.
The minimum capital is 570 million now. If you look at, for instance, if you want to mop 20% of Dangote cement, that's about 2 trillion. 2 trillion capitalized. Do you know how many billion it take you to be able to, warehouse it? These are the fundamentals. So if you base your analysis or your conclusion on the fact that you have achieved or you have met up with 570 million, that's just the beginning. That's just the basic. That one will not be enough to buy some company, which is this one, the Dangote cement that I mentioned to you now. So let us get all this very, very clear.
Okay, but hold your thoughts for us. We need to take a break. Okay, well, it's getting interesting. Let's take a break at this time. We'll come back down. We'll talk about the Investor Protection Fund, one other issue that was brought up yesterday at the public hearing. I have been talking to Abel Ezekiel. He's a capital market analyst, and we're still tracking the developments from the public hearing and looking into the near collapse of the capital market. We'll be back in a moment. If you're just joining us, you're watching Business Morning. We're still looking into the capital markets probe that's looking into the near collapse of the capital market. Abel Ezekiel is still here, and this time we're looking at one other issue that was brought up yesterday at the hearing: Investor Protection Fund. This is a fund that's been a little bit controversial. Nobody seems to know how much is in that fund, or do you know, Abel? If you know, could you please tell us? Okay, well, let's just start from the beginning. Okay. When was this fund established?
I think it was about 2001, if I should be right.
If it's 2000, okay, perhaps that period, maybe 2001, or at least before the market.
Exactly, it had been existing before the market.
And if I understand what this fund is meant to be, Investor Protection Fund, it's meant to be a fund where brokers, I don't know, maybe investors can put their hand in or at least hedge against any market crash.
Not really. It's not a hedge in general term as you put it. It's just in a way to cushion in case a stockbroking, the investor protect, mind you, it is just meant for when a stockbroking firm collapses, as it were, not when the market collapses.
Okay, so why is it called an Investor Protection Fund if it's not going to protect investors?
So that the idea behind that, so that because there's no way, capital market in a way does not really have a mechanism whereby like CBN will say they are protecting the depositors. They don't operate in that realm whereby you say, okay, if a company maybe goes down, maybe a company folded up, it is supposed to be you are taking a risk. Do you know when you are investing in a particular company? But the idea of investor protection is when a stockbroking firm run into problem, and at the end of the day could not be able to, because a lot of people would have maybe dropped money with the stockbroking firm to buy their share, and here they are, the stockbroking firm cannot meet up with those obligations due to one reason or the other. So that's where SEC as well will come to the rescue of those investors. Then when maybe they will take up the stockbroking firm, they will dispose their assets. So it's strictly just to handle some of one stockbroking firm or the other, not really to come and maybe protect investors in the market generally.
That being said, and if that's the case, has there been ever been a time when the fund was actually accessed by a stockbroking firm?
I don't think so. No.
So why is it being brought up now?
Yes, because we talk of a probe now. When you talk of a probe,
okay, so what are the issues now? What is it that is going to be fully operational or made to be fully operational?
Exactly. Why do we have it when nobody knows? Nobody knows the account. It's not being audited. It's not being, it's not being presented. Yes, it's not being tracked. So it's like a lot of things that have been hidden. Bring them forward. Let's see what is going on concerning some of all these things.
Okay, in your opinion, how can this investment protection fund, let's say it's revived, as it were, you don't know what's going on with it. How can this investor protection fund help at this time for the market?
Well, like I told you, don't forget, the idea is not really to protect investor in case you invested in a company.
I'm asking relating to the brokers themselves. I mean, there's still the issue of forbearance. The brokers are asking for forgiveness of debt. We have the debt overhang still, on their books, and they've been. So how tying this to the brokers' debts, forbearance, and all of that, how can it help?
Well, for me, because if the idea behind it, the modality behind it, is not the way you are, the way you are asking it now.
Okay.
Definitely, there's no way investment protection fund can maybe play a role when it comes to this meltdown we have in the market, as it were. But like I'm pointing out to you, it is really when the particular stock booking, because it's like an insurance, so to speak. When a particular individual has problem, the insurance will come to the rescue. But when you now find out that in those who take a risk, those who pay this premium to insurance company, all of them have challenges. There's no way it will really affect the capacity of insurance company to take care of the problem or the challenges as it were. So that's what I'm telling you. So it is definitely just for individual stockbroking firm. But what we have, the problem we have now is general. So in a way, it may not really go a long way. So that's why the issue of coming to this margin facility, margin loan that is hanging, because a lot of, I can tell you, forget about the rice matter, no activity is low. An average of 2 billion, 1 billion transaction on Nigerian Stock Exchange. Before this is a transaction that an individual could handle, but a daily transaction, both local and foreign investors, a day of 1.2, 1.5 billion daily. It will tell you, there's no activity. So a lot of stockbroking firms are really going through crisis, trouble, financially, liquidity-wise. A lot cannot pay their staff. So problem is there. So it is this area of margin facility they should look into it. I don't think investment protection will really to an extent.
Okay, what would you recommend? Because I know it's public knowledge that the brokers themselves are asking for forbearance, from AMCON or the CBN. Rather, the CBN is one that has the authority, in conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Finance. Are you also in support of that? Do you think the brokers should?
Yeah, totally.
So who will bear the financial implication or brunt of that?
Well, when they bail out bank, there's a mechanism they put in place in bailing out banks now, of which at the end of the day, it was handled by CBN through AMCON. Okay. So a mechanism like that should be put in place to take care of the challenges in the capital market. This point has been raised over this year or this period for the past 2 or 3 years. Let there be a mechanism through which some of these margin facilities, because the truth of it all is a lot of money is tied to it. And again, another point which it hasn't come forward, but I want to use this opportunity to mention it. This issue of private offers, private
placements that went bad in the past. Yes,
private placement. I think somebody should present it to the panel. It was
actually brought up yesterday.
Most of these companies that raise money, that made offers, there are a lot of them. They got this money, and at the end of the day, they went under or they disappeared. Most of these companies should be made to come and tell the public. For instance, if a company come up that I need money for me for expansion, to pay my debt, to pay my to maybe import raw material and the rest. And at the end of the day, you got that money, and suddenly the company
didn't come back to list.
Don't you know? Yes, don't you know? For it, because those are some of the problems that led to this investment. Investors are confident winning. You had invested in this company, they made advertisement, because then private placement was being seen like public offer. Just fill your form and at the end of the day, paying money. After paying this money, what has happened? You know, it has affected the liquidity, and those are some of the issues that the public, this panel should look into. People should be made to mention some of these companies that raise private placement.
I think action should also be taken. Punitive action
I'm
should be
telling
taken
you, a lot, almost close to 12 billion or thereabout is hanging in that direction by some companies, which is well known to Nigeria. Today, many of them, they give people maybe just a paper. At the end of the day, they disappeared.
So you're saying in the last year or so, or while the SEC regulator or even the NSE have been trying to clean up the market, boost confidence, you're saying this is not an issue? Because I know it's actually one of the issues that was actually addressed. You're still saying there hasn't been any impact
concerning the cleaning of the market,
the private placement.
No, so far nothing tangible had come in that direction, because a lot of them did a private placement, which they raking so much money. And another thing again is because many of them they hide on that, at that time, SEC, there's no enabling law under SEC through which they can monitor private placement. So people now take downwind to that opportunity to fleece people of their money. So those companies should be made to account for them. And even as it is, another thing, since 2001 or thereabout, it was Quotation Committee on Nigerian Stock Exchange, in conjunction with issuing house and the issuer, that determined the price of securities. But since 2001, it was deregulated in a way. They allow the issuing house and the company that want to raise the issuer to determine the price at which they want to offer some of this. Most of the prices they used in arriving at the unit price of those private were overpriced.
Okay, Abel, let's move on. What are your expectations from this particular hearing when it's meant to last a week? You've mentioned the fact that you want to see those the companies that had the private placement, you want that to be brought to the fore. That was actually mentioned yesterday. Yeah. So perhaps in the course of the hearing, that will be brought again to the fore and properly addressed. What are your general expectations? What are those key areas that you want this probe to address? Like
I've mentioned, the issue of private placement. Then another issue which was raised by Mr. Boniface Okezie was this nationalization of banks. It is still a mystery. People have not still come to terms that overnight, your investment in Bank PHB had been taken over. People are still finding it difficult to believe. When people call you, what of my bank? I say, the company is gone. They will ask you how. So all the media, all the publicity that the Central Bank and AMCON, in conjunction with AMCON, have done since the process began, before it began, while it was going on, and after, you're still saying many people out there who were affected are still in. They are still not yet convinced. Because sorry to cut you short, the president of the Association of Stockbrokers, he was talking in that report saying that some investors are not happy about the fact, or think they didn't get a fair deal. You get 300 and you get 2 stocks. But of course, cause and effect. When something bad happened, of course, that impacted, as it were, on the share. You don't think it was just causative? Let me point it out. It's CBN that did the value. That checked the books of those banks. At the end of the day, they went into merger agreement, this company and the other one. And the way they did this was like many of them, they were in a row because last year, as of February, the market really rebounded until it started dragging until June, when that comment from CBN came up that by September, any bank that did not recapitalize will be liquidated. That was where the crisis started. So and there is no way. The process of merger and acquisition is about 9. The stages is about 9 or 10. In most cases, there is no way. No other normal situation, there is no way you can consummate it within 3 months. It is not possible. Even though when it posed as as a malignant tumor, as it were in the system, that had to be taken out according to the regulators. That is what we were told. That is from one side. They are the ones in charge. They are the authorities. They are the experts on it. They know what's best for the financial system. If that's the case, they appointed those boards. How come between the period those boards were appointed and when the issue of a bank to be taken over or to be merged, when it came up, what has happened between that period? What were their results account? And at that period, you remember that most of these bad loans were being recovered. Remember, some bank director returned so much money to the covers of the bank to show up the so-called negative side of their balance sheet. So what I'm pointing out now is that within that period and September, a lot of activities went in, and therefore some stock were under price. There's this particular example. I'm still asking myself, this FinBank that was taken over by FCMB, AMCON got their own, because when they provided the money to FinBank, they give them shares. They got their 1 for 6, while Nigerian investors got 1 for 60. To this man, Esther, I still don't know why that valuation was, how do I arrive at that valuation? So in your own opinion, you're saying that investors didn't get a fair deal in terms of allotment of shares? I'm telling you, it was because when a panic was sent into the system, it's like instead of my in my village, instead of my rabbit or my to run away, let me cut the tail. Everybody was like, whatever I can get, let me just get. Because when 3 banks were taken over prior to the terminal date of the stipulated September 30th, here you are, you have taken over 3. So the rest were like, okay, whatever we can get. So it was like, whatever they offer, let's take. So it was not a genuine negotiation. They sat down, genuinely negotiated it. So investors never had a good deal at all. Abel, sorry to cut you short. We need to move on. We're almost completely out of time now. It's a week, second day. We're almost at the end. Well, still at the beginning of the probe. Yeah. What are your expectations in terms of the outcome of the probe? Do you want to see? What do you want to see at the end of this probe? What I want, we pointed out the issue of private placement, the issue of a bank, the way bank were taking over, the valuation, and all those stuff. That's number 2. Then number 3, we're expecting the issue of the debt that's hanging on the neck of many stockbroking firms should be looked into, so that at least some of them could breathe a breath. They could. Many of them cannot pay workers. They have rationalized to the barest minimum. In terms of, sorry to butt in again, in terms of market confidence, which this is ultimately about, how much of that do you think the market will get? And I'm talking in terms at the end of confidence, the day, if this probe goes well, as everybody's hoping. If it goes well, do you know, because investing in capital market to me, I love it so much, because it is only a capital market. Somebody could be working, and your money will be working somewhere for you. You can't be like you are in channels now. You can't be in channels and be working in Guinness, you'll be working in Nigerian, you'll be working in First Bank, So if you invest your money in those companies, it's like your money is working for you there. So it's really a veritable avenue for investment. And it is something, it's so convenient. Like somebody buying a land now, maybe you now need some little money. You can't cut your land into after cutting into half. You can't cut to quarter and the rest of them. But stock, you can have 1,000 units of Nigerian business. Also, I just need 2,000 or 5,000. You sell 100 units. You need, so it's so convenient. So what I think, Nigeria really want to invest in capital market, and it presents itself. I can tell you, this economic crisis or liquidity crisis is because of the crisis we have in capital market. Because ideally, it is the capital market pension people who are pension. Some people will sit down in the money, do the general analysis of their investment without even going out of their house. Broker, buy me this, sell me this stock, pay this also money without leaving your house. So it makes life convenient for people. With all that's happened, Abel, are you still, let me ask you this, are you still confident in this market? Are you still bullish in this market? I still have the confidence, because why do I say so? Is that most of the results have been coming up, have been encouraging so far. And if you summarize the challenges we have in capital market, apart from the issue of maybe some stock overprice and the rest of them, the crisis, the major crisis where the crisis came from is mostly banks and insurance. Those were the ones that really did all this massive offering, rights, public offer, and the rest of them. But when you talk of some other key manufacturing concern, like Nigeria since 2004, they did a bonus of 1 for 1. They've not done any offer. They've not done public offer. Guinness have not done. Other, maybe what's it called, PZ, and the rest of them. They have not done all this. But it's mostly this bank and insurance. That is really where most of this money go into, and that's why it is affecting Nigeria mostly.
Okay, Abel, I'm sorry, we're going to have to cut you short there. We have to leave it there. Thank you so much for your contribution. Thank you for coming. Of course, the probe continues, and we'll continue to track it here on Business Morning. Now, before we close, let's quickly check with the earnings board. We had one earnings from one of the top banks listed on the Nigerian Stock Exchange, talking about United Bank for Africa, the Q1 full-year report for the year 2011. Well, that came in quite bearish. The bank reported earnings of about 184.8 billion naira, a growth of about 4.1%. But however, profit after tax came into negative territory. That's reporting a loss of about 9.6 billion naira. But for the first quarter of this year, the bank bounced back to earnings, or rather positive earnings. It reported a turnover of 53.9 billion naira. That's a 33% increase in turnover. Profit before tax also came in very much significantly higher, over 200% at 16.1 billion naira, while its net profit hit 16 billion naira. We also have a earnings forecast for the half year. That's from Forte Oil, one of the energy stocks listed on the exchange. The company is forecasting 1 billion naira in profit before tax. That's for the half year ended June 2012. According to a statement from the company yesterday, it says the projection is based on improved sales as a result of high value output. It's also said the financial momentum is expected to build up in the course of the year. That's from Forte Oil. Well, I have been talking to Mr. Abel Ezekiel, a capital market analyst and, of course, the Chief Executive Officer of Investment Derivatives Company. And we have been looking at the ongoing probe of the near collapse of the capital market. Thank you so much, Abel, for coming today. That's about all we can take on today's edition of Business Morning. Thank you so much for being a part of it. Channels News Track is at the hour. I'm Estelle Bodaga. Bye for now.